Hello everyone. We live in some strange times, and I'm not talking about video games. There are some major events going down in the world right now, and it's really scary. Just going outside to get your food can be a nightmare at the moment, and I wanted to say that, my purpose with this channel has always been to just kind of goof off with you guys and have fun, and you make me laugh every day. I really enjoy making these videos for you, and it's helped lend a bit of purpose for me in dark times, and I wanted to let you know that I really appreciate that, even when I do silly out there things, like release rap videos or that combo video that I made yesterday. You guys get it. You sort of have my back, and we have fun together, and that's really great. So I want you to know that I think about all of you, and I hope you're doing okay, and I look forward to the point where we can put all of this strange darkness behind us. But that's not the point of the video or the topic of the video. I just felt that I needed to say something, because in the context of everything else that is going on, the issue of video games, becomes very small. But what I have on the screen right here is a quote by Arslan Ash, one of the best Tekken players ever, regarding the 3.30 update to Tekken 7, and I wanted to start this video out with an opinion that wasn't my own, for reasons that we will get into. But for the benefit of people who are listening to this and not necessarily watching the video, I want to read this. I think it's very good. I don't understand the purpose of these patch notes, as in the eyes of many Pro Tekken players and myself, the buffs and nerfs that are needed are not being done. I don't understand the approach that the balancing team are taking, as there are many characters like Elisa and Asuka who don't have good low moves, Lars and Gigas are still weak, Nina's down forward one is the worst in the game, weak tracking to both sides, and there are a lot of things on which every player in the world who plays Tekken agrees on. They should buff stuff like that. And I really like this, because Arslan is one of the best players ever. He's at the very bleeding edge of, tournament play, and so characters like Gigas, Elisa, they're non-factors in his world, but he shouts them out because he seems to genuinely care about balance, and I really respect him for that. I've met Arslan. He's a very sweet guy. He's super cool. And I also like this point about, that almost everybody who plays Tekken seems to agree on certain points. Obviously, not everybody's going to agree on a single issue, but when you have a vast majority of people who play the game a lot, who know a lot about it, saying the same thing, it starts to make sense in my mind to assume that there's some truth to that. So he goes on, this approach of buffing a character and then, once that character has been used to win a tournament, proceeding to nerf that character and then repeating the cycle is ridiculous. We've seen it with Dragunov, James, Double James, Paul, Kazumi, Geese, Steve, Leroy, and now we just wait for Mishimas to win one or two tournaments and then see them get nerfed. This is how the balancing team are working. All we have to do is wait for X character to win a tournament if we want that character to get nerfed. So what he means, by the way, when he mentions the Mishimas here, if you haven't read the patch notes, I mean, there are people out there who understand the Mishimas much better than I do, who are making videos about it, but the Electric Wind Godfist is recovering faster, making it very difficult to whiff punish, or punish when you duck under it, and then the Hell Sweep, the knockdown low, has improved tracking properties, so it basically tracks at this point. And to add insult to injury, Michael Murray, I think he tweeted, I don't have Twitter, but he said something, he wrote something where he said, why would you want to walk a Hell Sweep anyway when you can just block it and launch it? And I don't know if he's intentionally being, I'm not going to be rude, I don't know if he's intentionally trying to sound like he knows less than he does. But there are many, many good reasons why you would want to walk a Hell Sweep as opposed to block it. Because when you crouch, you become completely susceptible to mids, and when you walk, you can walk away from or evade things that aren't necessarily one specific low. You can walk mids and highs as well. And in the context of some characters like Kazuya, they even have a weak side that you can do that too. So I wanted to start out with this quote from Arslan because I made this video in October last year, where I was talking about roster balancing in Tekken. What was happening around that time is there were some major balance changes that seemed very strange to a lot of people, me included. It had me confused, and so I made this video because I needed to sort of shift my thinking on how Tekken balancing was being done. I couldn't see a thread or a reason between the choices that were being made by the people who balanced the game. And so I came up with this hypothesis. What if what they're trying to do, I say that in the video from October, what if what they're trying to do is not create a balanced roster, but they are trying to curate popularity and representation? What if they have favorite characters that they want to be popular, that they want to be used, especially in tournament play, and they're trying to curate the balanced landscape in a way that those characters come to the forefront? And when I started thinking that way and looking at it that way, all of a sudden these changes that seemed to have no pattern had a very clear pattern. They started making a lot of sense. And from that point on, whenever there was a new balance change, a new character, a new update, I was one of the few people who weren't confused, because I was already working off of this assumption that balance wasn't really the goal to begin with. But starting with that video, I'm not usually expressing a lot of opinions on this channel. It's not what I like to do. I like to make jokes, like I said, sometimes try and be, useful with some instructional content. But around that time, I started expressing opinions specifically on the balancing of the game, because I felt I really had something to say, that I was trying to get out. But people started calling those theories of mine conspiracy theories. And then we saw the first ever trailer for Leroy. And I had the first ever episode of the Wave Dash podcast that I do with Arion, Blasted Salami, and the main man. Crazy that I've had the privilege to get to know those guys, I really, really enjoyed talking to them. We're going to make an episode soon. I hope you look forward to it. We really enjoy making them, but I said we had not seen even really a gameplay trailer yet. We knew nothing about Leroy, except, the visuals and the impact of the initial reveal. And I looked at that and I said in that first Wave Dash episode, I think they're going to break this character. I think they're going to make him unreasonably good. And there was no real reason to assume that, other than if I looked at the marketing choices that Namco had made in the past, if I was working off of this assumption that they're trying to curate the roster the way that I think that they are, then, it would make sense to have a character who has this much impact, who's this popular, who's this looked forward to. Then it makes sense to make him way too good. And again, it was a strange thing to assume because we had no information, and people called it a conspiracy theory. And then he came out and he was broken. And first people were denying the fact that he was broken, but then all the top players, in the world, Nee himself comes out and he's like, I can't beat Leroy. They've gone way too far. And then I said, I think my theory is that they released him broken on purpose with the intention from the start of nerfing him later, because they wanted people to buy the DLC, they wanted to make money, they wanted to generate hype, but they knew that he was so unreasonable that he had to be nerfed later. And again, people called it a conspiracy theory, called it, illogical, called it inflammatory. Not everybody, the vast majority of my viewers have agreed with me from the beginning. I'm not trying to paint myself as some sort of, martyr here or whatever. But I had those comments as well saying, you're being unreasonable. And then there was a leak of Leroy nerfs with a date on them. I don't know if you remember this, but it's a very significant moment. There was a leak with Leroy nerfs that had a date on them where they were already existing around the time Leroy was being released into the game. So again, I have to re-emphasize this because it's so important. When the character was released in the game, they already had a list of nerfs for him. And so the only reason that I can think of that you would ever have a list of nerfs for a character who isn't even implemented yet is that you intend to nerf them in the future from the very start. That they're overpowered. You know that they're going to need that nerf. And so you can call it a conspiracy theory if you want to, but as far as I can tell, that's like proof, right? That's like proof. It's kind of concrete. It's right there. And then I said, I think Fuckin ROM is going to be worse, and the jury's still out on whether or not Fuckin ROM is overpowered. He came out yesterday. We don't know yet. I haven't tried him enough. I haven't talked to enough people. I think he seems very powerful, but we'll see. We'll let the community at large decide. But I think the fun thing was, like, the joke everybody was making is, well, when Fuckin ROM comes out, he's probably just going to launch you on block, and then, you know, they made a character that launches you on block, which was interesting. I really need to say here, I really need to emphasize that I'm not trying to make a video here where I say, you know, I told you so, look, I was right all along, or anything like that. I'm not the only one who's noticing this, and I just think we need to be real about what the situation is like. And so, because there are still many people out there who deny what is going on, I need to sort of be very clear about, it's not like me assuming things or having conspiracy theories. There's like seriously good reasons to assume that the people who are balancing Tekken don't really care about balancing Tekken, at least in the way we would think of balance, right? And so we have the 3.30 update. Now that Leroy has been nerfed, by the way, pretty hard and brought down to a more reasonable level. And these characters that Arslan mentions, you know, Elisa, who has been categorically bad through her entire presence in this game, has got not a single change. Giga's not a single change. And specific characters, prolific mascots of the franchise, by the way, Xiaoyu, Huarong, Mishimas, have gotten like an extensive list of changes. And some of them have been made much, much stronger. And then we had another quote from Namco saying that we will look at usage statistics and win rates and the Tekken World Tour, and then we will decide what we will change next. And it's up to you to decide whether or not you think that's a clever way of balancing a game, you know. I'm not sure. I think that it is. And so the point I wanted to make creating this video is that I'm sort of done having opinions about balancing and stuff. I want to do more enjoyable things. I want to play the game purely for fun. I want to make more videos where I talk about the aspects I really enjoy of the game, and I want to keep on making silly jokes and goofing off with you guys. I was laughing myself to tears yesterday editing the audio on that combo video. I want to have fun with you, and I want that to be the thing I'm doing going forward. So enough with, like, I mean, you could call it whining or opinions, but, you know, I have a Tekken YouTube channel, and a major balance update comes out, so it just makes sense to talk about it. And if you're going to talk about it anyway, then it makes sense to be honest about what you actually think. But I'm not going to be like upset or get fired up anymore, because I don't expect much of the balancing of this game. I like the way it looks and sounds. I like the way it makes me feel when I play it. I like the community I've built around my channel. I love the podcast that I make with other people where I talk about it. But the balance, I just have extremely low expectations going forward. And if you play one of these lesser used, very weak characters, I think it would make sense for you to assume that they're weak because the people who make this game intend for them to be, and they're not trying to bring them up to an equal level to other characters. It's not really the way it works with this game. But there are many, many characters, and like people love to keep on saying, it's still a game where any character can win against any other character. But it's gotten less and less true. And I mean, if you're talking about one of the weakest characters right now against something like Akuma or the Mishimas, then yeah, your win rate isn't going to be fantastic, but we should play the game, I think, more for pure enjoyment. And I've been making these videos lately where I talk about, you know, Anna, Master Raven. I'm making one on Lucky Chloe right now. I want to talk about, you know, the lesser used characters and just appreciate the great designs in the game and stuff like that. But competitive balance is not really something I have any expectations of anymore. And there are going to be podcasts and stuff in the future where I talk about this, but in terms of like content on my own channel where I try and like break this down, I don't think I'm going to do that. But now I've like said what I wanted to say about it, and I'm going to try and focus on, making guides for you guys, making, fun videos and enjoying the game instead. And, YouTubers always say this, like, I want to know what you think, drop a comment and stuff like that. And I think for the most part, it's kind of, manufacturing popularity for their video. But I really do want to know what you guys think and feel on this topic. I really do. And you're always clever and interesting and funny in the comments, so I look forward to reading them. But yeah, if I've been opinionated or boring or whiny at times since that video in October where my eyes sort of opened up to this, then I'm sorry about that. But I'm done with that, and I'm going to try and get back to what really matters to me instead. Thank you so much for watching this video, even though it wasn't very, interactive or dynamic. I hope it was enjoyable enough. I hope you stay safe out there. I love you very much. Take care.